Welcome to the discussion. Today we're delving into some of the most intriguing stories from the mid-20th century physics halls of fame, exploring, Einstein's dice and Schrödinger's cat.
Absolutely. It's fascinating how these two giants, both brilliant and profoundly human, mixed scientific vision with personal turmoil.
Right, it's like, a clash of philosophies as much as it is a clash of personalities. Einstein, with his relentless pursuit for a unified field theory, dreamed of a world with deterministic beauty.
Yep. And then Schrödinger, whose work on wave mechanics was groundbreaking, ended up challenging the very basis of quantum indeterminacy with his little thought experiment, the cat in the box.
Exactly. Einstein's famous "God does not play dice" wasn't just a witty remark. It was his deep-seated belief that the universe should be governed by orderly, inevitable laws rather than random chance.
And yet Schrödinger's cat, it wasn't meant to be a celebration of chance, but rather a critique of taking quantum principles too literally at macroscopic scales, right?
Right. It was his way of saying that if we extend these probability ideas from the micro world to everyday life, we run into absurdity. I mean, a cat that's simultaneously alive and dead? It's like a metaphor for the conflicts in the heart of quantum theory.
And that metaphor really resonated far beyond physics, seeping into popular culture and even everyday conversations about uncertainty.
Absolutely. Now, what makes it even more interesting is the relationship between Einstein and Schrödinger. Initially, they were kindred spirits, both questioning the Copenhagen interpretation and both longing for a deterministic order behind nature's randomness.
True, but then things took a turn. It seems that as they got older, their paths diverged, and the intense scrutiny of the public eye, especially that media spectacle in 1947, really strained their relationship.
Exactly, and it's not just science that played a role. Here, you have elements of rivalry, ambition, and even pride. Schrödinger's impulsive press release in Dublin announcing a theory of everything really set the stage for a public falling out.
Yeah, I find that part really captivating. Scientists we hold in such awe, tangled up in personal ambition and political pressures, nearly turning their scientific debate into an international embarrassment.
Absolutely. And then, add in the background of war, exile, and ideological divides, and you see how fleeting and fragile these alliances were. Einstein kept pursuing his unified theory, believing that all forces, even electromagnetism and gravity, were just different faces of a deeper geometric structure, a nod to Maxwell's unification.
Yes, and it's like Einstein was channeling the rationalist spirit of Spinoza, where nature's immutable order was almost divine in its precision. That philosophical bent was a significant motivator for him.
That's right. He longed for a universe that wasn't ruled by chance, but instead had to be, perfectly designed. Yet, as we know today, the experimental success of quantum mechanics puts that view in stark contrast with how nature behaves at the microscopic scale.
And on the other side, Schrödinger, while also a proponent of determinism early on, had his moment of, paradox, illustrated perfectly by his cat experiment, that exposed the absurdity he saw in applying quantum superposition to our world.
Exactly. It makes you, wonder, were they not just two brilliant minds battling to find beauty in science, but also, at a deeper level, battling the inherent uncertainty of life itself?
Yeah, true, and their personal lives further reflect that, don't they? Schrödinger's contradictory nature, brilliant but impulsive, deeply philosophical yet prone to personal missteps, really contrasts with Einstein's rather stoic, methodical quest.
Right. And it's also noteworthy that while Einstein often got lost in his mathematics, trying again and again to nail down that unified field theory, Schrödinger was quick to seize any public attention, which, as history shows, sometimes was more about hypes and headlines than hard science.
And I think that's a valid critique. Schrödinger's approach in 1947, proclaiming his theory, perhaps spoke more to the desire for one final grand triumph rather than a fully substantiated scientific breakthrough.
True, exactly. It shows that even the greatest minds aren't immune to the allure of recognition and the weariness of lifelong quests. Einstein's continuous search for a grand theory and Schrödinger's dramatic flair both hint at a struggle for legacy and meaning in a rapidly changing world.
And then there's the political backdrop. Schrödinger, for instance, leaving Berlin in protest of Nazi policies, yet later getting entangled with political authorities in Graz, all of which added layers to his public persona.
Right. It really highlights how science doesn't exist in a vacuum. It bumps up against politics, personal ethics, and even cultural identities. It, shows that every discovery or theory is, in part, a reflection of the times and the individual conducting it.
Speaking of cultural identity, isn't it interesting how Schrödinger was seen as a national treasure in Ireland, even becoming the intellectual figurehead at the Dublin Institute for Advanced Studies?
Absolutely. That adds a whole different dimension to his story, a kind of reconciliation between his technical genius and his capacity to capture public imagination. And meanwhile, Einstein, somewhat reserved about publicity, let his work speak softly while maintaining his classic stance against public spectacle.
And that 1947 debacle really marked a turning point, didn't it? One final clash that crystallized not just their scientific differences, but also their very human flaws.
Yes, it was like a last stand, a farewell to the possibility of a unified collaboration. Their friendship, once so promising, ultimately unraveled under the weight of ego, ambition, and media frenzy.
Yeah, and then we see, in the shadow of this fallout, the broader scientific community grappling with the philosophical question of determinism versus chance. It's a debate that still stirs up discussions today.
Exactly, and it's one of those timeless issues. Is our universe ultimately chaotic? Or is there an underlying order we just haven't glimpsed yet? It's like, one never really knows if we'll ever see the complete picture.
Definitely. And let's not forget, the legacy of Schrödinger's cat really cemented the idea of superposition in the public consciousness. Even people not steeped in quantum theory end up using it as a metaphor for life's uncertainties.
That's true. And it's fascinating how that thought experiment, despite its scientific origins, has transcended into everyday language. I mean, who hasn't mused over something being, both one way and another, when faced with a tough decision?
Right. Although I sometimes wonder if we risk oversimplifying these profound concepts into catchy, oversimplified slogans.
I see where you're coming from. But, I'd argue that the very essence of these discussions is about opening up our minds to uncertainty, even if it means using colorful imagery that may not capture all the nuances of quantum theory.
That's fair. And it also reminds us that science, however precise, is a very human endeavor, full of passion, missteps, and sometimes spectacular disagreements.
Absolutely. Their tale, from a promising collaborative spirit to a very public and messy fallout, is a microcosm of how human ambition, personal differences, and the politics of the time can shape even the loftiest scientific pursuits.
Right. It certainly encourages us to look at scientific progress not just as an accumulation of facts and formulas, but as a rich interplay of ideas, emotions, and, very human stories.
Exactly. And, it leaves open that, even today, the debate between determinism and indeterminism remains unresolved, a philosophical puzzle that continues to inspire newer generations of scientists and thinkers alike.
Yep. So in the end, whether it's Einstein's dice or Schrödinger's cat, these symbols remind us that the universe is, at its heart, a grand mystery, one that combines logic with a bit of, inherent unpredictability.
Exactly. It's like they're two sides of the same coin, both striving to decode nature's secrets, yet each highlighting different aspects of what it means to understand our world.
And that's what makes these stories so endlessly fascinating. They're not just about science, but about the human spirit, our ambitions, our errors, and our eternal quest for meaning.
Truly so. Thanks for diving into this rich tapestry of ideas and personalities with me. Until next time, keep pondering the mysteries of the universe.